On March 6, 2026, the Storm Prediction Center had only issued a 2% tornado risk for parts of lower Michigan. But by the end of the day, multiple tornadoes had touched down, resulting in at least 4 fatalities. In this video, I will be diving into what caused this tragedy to occur and how it went under most forecasters' noses. For starters, though, I think we need to take a look back and see what weather models were showing leading up to the event. Multiple chasers across the state were noticing a favorable environment for severe weather for the days leading up to the event. A warm front with a subsequent low-pressure system was expected to build through the area, bringing moisture and instability with it. This, coupled with a strong low-level wind shear, was setting off some alarms for severe weather across the region. However, the Great Plains were taking up most people's minds as a large, widespread severe weather risk was setting up. Storm placement and intensity was also still up in the air, as if a storm couldn't go up in the warm sector or ride the warm front, tornadoes would not be a major threat. By the morning of, conditions were starting to look even more favorable. Chasers across the region were expecting storms to form around 5 or 6 p.m., but that is not what occurred. As the warm front started to lift north, a storm was forming just south of Gary, Indiana, and was moving northeast into southwest Michigan. This storm was rapidly gaining strength and was getting boosted by other updrafts merging into it. But the storm was not rotating yet. However, as the storm entered Michigan's southern border, it quickly took on a merger and began to rapidly rotate. The storm would very quickly after put down its first tornado, initially being unwarned by the National Weather Service near Edwardsburg, Michigan. Thankfully, though, this tornado was fairly short-lived. The same storm was now rooting itself along the warm front, which allowed it to get untapped access to rich moisture, instability, and streamwise vorticity from the prominent baroclinic temperature gradient on the warm front. This has been seen time and time again across Michigan. Another recent example that unfortunately struck the same communities would be May 7th, 2024, which multiple chasers, including myself, would chase. After this first tornado, chasers would catch up to the storm in time to see it rapidly take on inflow, and by this point there was no other storm in sight. The storm would briefly cycle before putting down a multi-vortex tornado in Three Rivers, where my friend Mikey Plemons chased and saw the tornado.
Strong tornado! Very strong tornado!
Even after this tornado occluded, it was not done, cycling once again and putting down an even bigger, possibly strong to violent tornado in Union City, Michigan. This one was seen by multiple chasers, including Jack Peltz and Mikey Plemons. Unfortunately, this is the same community where another EF2 struck just to the southwest back on May 7th, 2024.
Oh no!
So what happened? What resulted in these tornadoes being largely unpredicted?
Oh,
Well, I would chalk it up to 3 main factors.
no.
Number 1, being distractions. While a risk for severe weather was setting up in southwest Michigan, a much larger risk was setting up in the plains from Iowa and Nebraska down to Texas and Oklahoma. This pushed a lot of media coverage and storm chaser attention away from Michigan and out to the plains. The second one would be timing. Most forecasting models did not have storms initiating until later in the evening, which would have made the environment significantly less intense for tornadoes, as daylight heating lowered, thus creating what is known as a warm nose, which is an area of relatively warm, stable air above a pocket of cooler surface air, which prevents storms from becoming surface-based, basically meaning no tornadoes. But I would say the third and most important factor for this storm was mesoscale interactions. Notice how in this radar loop that I showed, the storm takes on multiple other storms to build its updraft? These were crucial factors in the storm's formation, and led to a serious uptick in its intensity. These mergers, coupled with the fact that it was riding the warm front and getting access to the untapped instability and streamwise vorticity, ultimately led to the storm putting down at least 3 devastating tornadoes in southwest Michigan. It is important to note that at the time of making this video, lots of information is still unknown about the number of fatalities, injuries, and the tornado's rating, so I have not mentioned it to stay as accurate as possible. This is no doubt a very tragic situation, and it is always good to look at these situations and learn from them. Albeit, the setup was a little bit of a freak. Thank you all for watching this video, and I'm wishing anyone impacted by these storms for a smooth and quick recovery. If I find any places to donate, I will link them in the description below.